All right. Well, good afternoon, fellow patriots. I'm really, okay, yes, sir. Really honored to be here. Please forgive me, I kind of threw this together in the last couple days because the previous week I was preparing for my Morton City Council meeting where the local BLM and swarm groups were meeting because they were going to demand, well, they did demand my immediate termination. Long story short, I had 3 strikes against me. Number one, I did the same as Sheriff Songer here in Washington, where when 1639 passed, I made a very public stand that even though we're a small town, we're not going to enforce that unconstitutional law that violates our Second Amendment. We're a small town. We actually police 2 cities. We police the cities of Morton and Mossy Rock. In Lewis County, it's a beautiful area. I'm a veteran. I'm a Patriot Academy graduate. I'm a constitutional coach, and I take it all to heart. And when I took my first oath of office, or my first oath to the Constitution and to liberty, was December 5th, 1996, when I was in the Air Force, or the Chair Force for those of us out there. I did it again as a military policeman in the Army National Guard, corrections, and I was a cop in Nevada for a while. And now I'm in beautiful Washington. We're about 2 hours southeast of the Socialist Republic of Seattle. But that was my first strike. My second was they did not enjoy the fact that I was starting to teach constitutional classes for the youth in our area. I was told that I shouldn't do it. What makes me think that I can teach the Constitution to children? I said, well, I can read. And they said, well, and at the time, I'm also the chair for our community coalition. It's been great. I love it. We get very tied in with the community. I'm the only police department, I believe, in the state right now that has a youth mentoring program that's funded through our Lewis County Public Health, or I guess nowadays, the public health department is kind of like the Gestapo, just less guns. But they've generally been pretty good up to this point, and it's helped us build a relationship with our congresswoman. I've gone to D.C. every year. I went to the State of the Union this year, and yes, I could hear Nancy Pelosi tear that speech up, and I could feel the vacuum of air leave the gallery when it happened. So it's been a very beneficial relationship until I said I wanted to take part in this after-school program grant. It was formed with the city of Morton, and it can only be spent in Morton. It was $30,000 for a 6-week after-school program. I said, hey, we can do that. So we need somebody to put a plan together. So we were the ones that submitted our plan. There was only one group that submitted a plan for it, which was ours, and they immediately said, well, you can't teach this. It's got to be an evidence-based program. What evidence do you have on this? I said, well, the Constitution. They said, and when was this submitted? I said, 1776. And she looked at me and gave me the look of like Hillary Clinton at an oversight committee hearing and said, you're very funny. I said, well, that's actually when it was, when the Declaration of Independence was signed, and Constitution came after that, and Bill of Rights. And she says, well, there's no evidence-based curriculum on that. So they shot it down, and I said, well, we'll do it on our own. She said, you won't get anybody on it. Nobody's going to want to do it. The community doesn't need this. I said, well, I think that's where you're wrong. I think the problem we have in policing is because of things like these mandates, these chips away at our constitutional rights. It also pushes us further away from the communities we serve. And by educating people on their rights, that is part of, in my opinion, that's part of our duty. So we're going to do that. She even, I'm pretty sure it was her, went to the paper, and then there was, our local paper is good, but we have this communist newsletter called The Chronicle. They just put out an article me out today I'll tell you about here in a minute. They also attacked me for it. So we did it on our own. And we put together the 6-week program using the Patriot Academy model, We worked with things like the Constitution Rocks book, which is great for kids. And actually, I learned a lot. I said, you know what, I'm going to do this myself. I went through it, and the kids loved it. We had 17 kids go through it last year. We have 23 kids this year. And and of the 23 kids, we had 4 kids come back again. And they absolutely enjoy it. We've taken them to the Veterans Museum. They've met with our legislators. They've had dinner with the mayor. And they've learned from the signing of the Declaration of Independence to today and how that trickles down to them in their small town, because it's all about connection. And one of our rules is no social media, no cell phones. They have a code of conduct when they come in there. Every day at the beginning of their we have a 3-hour class, it's 2 days a week. They have to say the Pledge of Allegiance. They have to recite the preamble of the Constitution at the beginning and the end of the day, and they get into it. And I'm going to make a little video for them today from here, because they're doing that today. Some of my auxiliaries are going to be teaching that while I'm gone. But they love it so much. And then, one of the biggest complaints from people was, well, how are kids going to be able to understand the Constitution? So, well, they're ages 10 to 17. They can play an Xbox. I'm pretty sure they can figure this out. And, I told them, my youngest daughter's 10. And when she was 5, we were sitting on the porch, and she looks up at the sky, and she says, hey, Dad, aren't those stars? I said, yeah, they are. She goes, well, those are compressed balls of gas, right? So it's like helium and stuff, and so isn't the sun a star? I go, well, you are going to college. I said, if my daughter can tell me what a star is, she can understand the Bill of Rights. And it's taken off. Again, that was huge. The amount of opposition I got to that was crazy. And then the biggest strike against me most recently, if you Google my name, Roger Morningstar, Trump Tower, not to get into politics, but in February when I got back from DC, I started running again, because as you can see, my body's built for cruise, not for speed. It was cold, it's Washington, and I went running, I went to go jogging, and the only hat I had was this red sweater cap that says, Make America Great Again. And my whole family, we did a Trump inauguration party, said we gave out boarding passes to the Trump train to our house. So we got this big stand-up of Donald Trump in the living room. It's been there for 3.5 years. So every morning my daughter's like, good morning, Mr. President, But she saw me put that hat on, the sweater cap, and she actually got scared. She's like, Dad, why are you going to wear that? Aren't you worried about what people are going to say? And I said, no. And she was really worried. And I said, what are you worried about? She goes, well, somebody's going to get mad if they see you wearing that. And I said, well, you have to stand up for what you believe in. So we wanted to get a big Trump sign, talk to the Trump campaign about getting a big plastic, one of the big campaign signs that are 10 by 20, and they said it's a logistical nightmare to get it to your house. So I talked to some friends, and we built a 10 or 12 foot tall, 12 foot high, 4 foot deep, 8 foot wide mock-up of a Trump tower with windows and lights on it, put it in the front yard. Well, when that happened, the amount of hatred I got from the left was more than even I anticipated. I had received phone calls from New York, Florida, Australia, Mexico, Canada, about that I'm a racist, I'm a xenophobe, I'm a white supremacist, and then the Chronicle paper got involved. I had 2 news agencies come to my house and 2 stories on it. And now it's in Law Enforcement Today, put out an article. It's in the Boston Herald. It's like all across the country. And then from that came all the hatred from within the state. He needs to be fired. You've aligned yourself with a white supremacist. You need to be terminated immediately. And so this Monday, we had our council meeting, and they had put out a call to arms on the Swarm and the BLM pages. All anti-racists come to Morton. We are going to demand the immediate termination of Chief Morningstar. So I didn't take anything for granted. I didn't ask for anybody to show up on my behalf. I spent a week trying to write up something good to say before the council. I had also told the mayor about this when I started building it, and he says, that's hilarious, that's a great idea. So they showed up, about 30 of them showed up. But when I showed up to where the council meeting's at, there were about 50 people there in support of me. And I went in through the back. I went and checked the front later, and there was 150 people. And then the council meeting started, and very quickly into it, a council member said, you know, I think this needs to be struck. Item number 8 and 2 need to be struck from the agenda because there's no reason for us to basically do this. And we're a strong mayor form of government, so it's up to the mayor whether or not the chief keeps his job. But there's so many reasons for someone not to wear a mask because that's what they went off of. The Trump Tower was what they wanted to get me on, but they used the fact that I wouldn't enforce mask mandates to say I was violating my oath of office. And they pushed it and pushed it, but then the council dropped it and said, no, we're not going to hear this. And so then the mayor went out and told the crowd there were so many people they had to do a drawing to get into the room. So then I saw the guys outside. I went outside to check on what's going on after that, and the doors opened, and I was very humbled. There was over 500 people out there that came from around the county. But and you know, I think we need to remember that I think what happened there was I've been the chief for just under 5 years, and I've really taken to heart, it's we the people. I don't tell people or my officers, hey, when I don't reference people as civilians, because we're all civilians. We're not the federal government. We police ourselves. And I've taken that to heart, and I've really tried to drive home that we are public servants, you know, of the people, for the people, by the people. And so that's where I think all of this accumulated here. I'm very honored to come speak with you all, and you know, very honored that Sheriff Mack gave me a call. I was surprised to hear from him. I was like, well, maybe he saw the Trump Tower video, which is on Cairo 7 if you guys want to see it. There's about 1,500 negative comments, but you know, pick and choose what you want to read through there. There's some really good ones from a guy in Norway, but what got me to, and I want to wrap this up and don't go over time, but is the amount of people before the council meeting that showed up that was positive. I had people from all over the state. Man, we're so happy you did this. And then I had a woman call me and say, do you mind if I come to your house with my family? I'd love to get a picture in front of your Trump Tower. I said, yeah, I don't care. She goes, well, I just really want you to understand we're Muslim. I said, I don't care if you're Muslim. She's like, you don't? I said, no. So they drove 2.5 hours. She brought her whole family, and they said, we're the Muslim Republican Organization of Seattle. I said, how many people are in the Muslim Republican Organization? She's like, us. She said, I came here from Pakistan. She says, I did not leave and fight to become a United States citizen and leave Pakistan for somebody to take away the rights that I fought so hard to get. She took her picture there. She says, I love Donald Trump, and I hope he sees this. She says, can I get one more picture by myself? And I said, sure. And then I took her picture, and then she's like, holds up a sign, Trump 2020. And she's like, thank you so much. I said, hey, thanks for coming out. And it was amazing to see that liberty in somebody else. She became a citizen. She did everything right. And she said, we're terrified to tell people that we're voting for Trump. What do you think I should do? I said, you can't do right if you're afraid of being attacked. And she says, well, I'm out of Trump signs. I said, well, I'm the PCO for Morton. I happen to have 15 in the trunk if you'd like a few more. So I gave her some, and she went on. But I think when we look at what we can do in this room, there's so many. You guys are doing far more than I can. I'm pretty sure every agency here has more in their budget for Bic pens than my whole department. But we can do a lot we have to start seeding liberty in the next generation. We have to take that to heart. You know, we have to remember that we are of the people. You know, George Washington said, when we assumed the soldier, we did not cast aside the citizen. And by teaching the next generation, that is going to make sure we have liberty. And before I go, I just want to read this last part here. This is something I read to the kids at the beginning of class. The only foundation of a free constitution is pure virtue. And if this cannot be inspired into our people in a greater measure than they have it now, they may change their rulers and the forms of government, but they will not obtain a lasting liberty. They will only exchange tyrants and tyrannies. Those words were from John Adams, and they could not be more true today than they were then. And we need all of you together, and this is our republic if we can keep it. So thank you very much.